Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello everyone, this is Umar Hamid, your host, and welcome to the No Limit Selling Podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategies, and advice on how to make you better, stronger, faster. Get ready for another episode. Today, I have the privilege of sitting down with Julie Lenzer here at, what do you call this place?
It's called the Startup UMD at the Diamondback Garage.
Which is a mouthful, and you're the Chief Innovation Officer.
That's right, at the University of Maryland, College Park.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So the reason I wanted to reach out was just less than a month ago, they had the TEDCO conference upstairs, right?
That's right.
And one of the things that struck me was the amount of powerful, amazing, capable women that came on the stage. And it wasn't that they were women, they were just amazing human beings. And it was just kind of nice that they actually had a concentration of them that day.
It's great to hear, because I share that same thing. One of my goals when I used to run a nonprofit for women, for empowering the women, was to put myself out of business. Because we don't...
I fight for you, because
right?
I believe that's the ultimate job.
We don't need to anymore highlight that somebody's a woman. They're just a person, and they're at the same level as everyone else.
You know what kind of pissed me off the other day? I don't get pissed off often. It was they did a spacewalk with an all-female thing. It's like, get the frick out of here.
We need to stop
Amazing
talking
women
about,
did that. It's not like it was... we allowed little women to go do that is what the underlying
The sad part is that there's still firsts for women. And, other ethnicities and things like that, not just based on gender, but other groups where we need to stop focusing
me, emotionally
on,
challenged. This is the first.
Right, the first time. I call it emotional constipation.
There you go. So you get to work with a lot of folks in this joint. Some of them would be professors that have a brilliant idea, but maybe don't have the expertise to really start a business.
Right.
And then you have other people that just are here that want to start a business. Tell me about the different food groups, and then we'll kind of dive into each one.
Sure. We have brilliant researchers who've made a fantastic discovery that want to see that discovery get out into the world. And oftentimes a startup is the best mechanism for doing that. So we have a faculty member who's cured MS in mice. And whether
Just
that
one
will
more
actually...
high five here.
Yeah. So whether or not that will work in a human, I don't know, but it deserves a chance to be
Absolutely.
successful. We have another faculty who's figured out how to detect salmonella in produce in not 48 hours, as per the current way it's done, 4 hours. And that's a huge difference and can save lives with that, or save certainly medical bills. And so we've got a lot of really cool things. So there's faculty members that have great ideas.
Let's pause there just for a second. Yeah. Let's go back to curing MS in mice.
Yeah.
Think of how many amazing, life-changing, world-altering inventions never got made because that step from idea to letting the world know about it never happened effectively.
That's what drives me to be here, honestly. It's if the cure for cancer is sitting in someone's head or in someone's lab and it doesn't have the chance to realize whether or not it is truly, that it truly works, that's just not acceptable to me. Every good idea deserves a chance to be successful. And I even say every idea, whether or not it's good. Who am I to judge, right?
Right.
And so that's what we do here. We activate fearless ideas with the idea that they can drive transformational impact. And that I don't want on my watch for us to miss something that, didn't get a chance to see the light of day.
Yeah, or somebody comes out 30 years later, I had this idea 30 years ago.
And that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. The difference is in execution. I mean, I had an idea for an e-reader back when I was traveling internationally and carried, 5 books because I read so fast. I'm like, it'd be really nice to have this on a tablet. I didn't create Kindle, or I didn't create e-readers, but so execution is all of it. So that's what we focus on here, is how do we activate good ideas?
Because you've got this sign on the wall, it's get shit done.
That's right. That is our mantra. It's like you can sit around and talk about it and think about it, but nothing happens until you actually execute on it.
And you can execute badly, which is still a blessing. Then you learn and you kind of move forward.
Fail fast, learn, pivot, repeat.
Excellent. So the first food group were faculty from the university. Who are the other ones?
Yep, we've also got students. So oftentimes for students, it's more of a learning experience. So it's part of their curriculum, or it's just part of their whole college experience. Many students who start companies in college won't actually continue with the same company when they get out. but you're creating a mindset, and that's what's really important. Is you're teaching them to be possibility thinkers and to be able to realize that they can affect change in the world, and that's really what that's about with the students. And some of them do go on and continue their companies and build into successful companies. Squarespace is a great example of one that came out of the University of Maryland.
Nice.
A student company. And so we try to kind of foster that. And we want the cross-pollination with then like alumni who have started and built successful companies, or folks from the community that have been successful entrepreneurs. We want to bring them in, get them in touch with these, kind of emerging entrepreneurs, and see how we can help cross-pollinate and affect each other.
Yeah, because the ad that comes to mind is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. You got your chocolate and my peanut butter, and you got your peanut butter, because it's amazing.
They are that different.
Something that excites me is when you take someone comes from one discipline, chemistry, and they go into management, and they go, well, when you have a catalyst, this happens in chemistry. Why don't we do that with human beings? We cross-pollinate ideas, and you extend that sometimes stagnant industry much further.
True innovation requires diversity of thought and perspective. You can't solve, I think it's one of my favorite Einstein quotes, you can't solve the problem from the context in which it was created.
Yes.
So you need people. And so we do a lot of, and some of our innovation catalysts whom you met earlier, who are students that we pay as interns to be here, and they help us with some administrative work, but they're working on projects. They're actually involved in our ecosystem. And so, but we know that just them seeing some of that is really crucial.
Absolutely. So they're the two groups, students and faculty?
Those are our primary customers.
One of the things that gets in the way of us becoming awesomer is ourselves.
Oh, always.
Julie, as you get professors coming in here, sometimes, they really have an idea locked into their head, which is, this is my baby, it's beautiful, this is what we're going to do. With your experience, sometimes that's not the right path to go. What techniques do you use to get them to see the light, or at least be open to the possibility?
So a lot of times, like anyone, you have to let them fail a little bit before they realize. And so they have to struggle, kind of like raising children, right? You got to let them do it on their own. You got to let them struggle, and then you can come in and say, well, so let me explain to you how you can fix this or how you can do this differently. So we've had a faculty member who had one of his investors wanted to come on board and be a team member, wanted, a significant portion of equity, and it didn't turn out well. And then he realized that he doesn't know how all this business stuff works. We had another one who's brilliant researcher, was able to, was having trouble raising money because he needed a CEO. But then finally he was able to raise, because of the technology, a large chunk of money. But part of the caveat was that he had to find a CEO.
Right.
And so the way I explain it is that, it's not, starting a business isn't rocket science, but a rocket scientist doesn't know how to do it.
Which is perfectly true. So here's something that happens quite often, that you've got a venture capitalist that's investing in a company, and they say you need a CEO to come in, which is absolutely true.
Right.
But here's how it can go sideways. That CEO that comes in has a team they've worked with in the past.
Absolutely. They
take a culture that's already exists, that may be good or bad or in the middle, but then they force another culture upon it.
Absolutely.
And so that can go sideways too. How do you guard against that? Or how do you...
We can't. I mean, it's we can educate our faculty on how to, what their role is, but they're, they've never done a business before. They're really the scientists. And so we try to protect them in our licenses such that if the company gets a license and the company goes in one direction, that there's maybe a way that the intellectual property can come back, or that they can carve out another piece or another field of use for the intellectual property, so they can create another company around the technology but in a different field. I mean, so we look for ways to try and protect them, but it doesn't always work. I mean, I think one of the companies that was in the news recently was one of our companies that the founding IP, the researcher, was forced out, and then the company went bankrupt, and so he lost all of his equity in the company. And
did he lose the IP as well?
So the university is no, because the university owns the IP.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's our job, is to try and sometimes it's to protect them from themselves.
Nice. Where were you when my hero Tesla was?
Oh yeah.
Giving the rights to his invention to Westinghouse to save them. And I was wondering, why didn't you ask for stock? It wouldn't cost them anything.
They don't always know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't always know.
So one of the things that was kind of interesting about Tesla, if you believe it, is, of course, he was buddies with Mark Twain. And he used his coil to also generate X-rays. So he took an X-ray of Mark Twain, which is purportedly to be one of the first X-rays ever taken.
Interesting. Well, and the interesting thing about intellectual property, if you read the history, one of my favorite books is Peter Drucker, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, very old book. But he talks about Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison created a light bulb, but he didn't create the commercial light bulb that went to market. He actually licensed someone else's patent. What he did is he created the system of delivery of electricity.
Yes.
And then he licensed somebody else's patent, which was a better technology. So it's one of the things that you also have to educate these professors on, is that it's not always the best technology that wins. Just because your widget may be better than the next one doesn't mean that that's going to be a commercial business success.
Before we went on air, you were chatting about your daughter. How many children do you have?
I have 2 daughters.
As they move into the world, what 3 pieces of advice would you give them to allow them to be happy and successful?
So one is that you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it and how you respond to it. And so maintaining that sense of agency, self-agency, and knowing that you can control you. And that's about the only thing in the world that you can actually control. And so use that power. Don't ever give away your power of controlling yourself.
Right.
And I used to speak on this actually quite a bit before I came to the university about how we give away our power all the time to other people. And so that would be one, is maintain your agency, maintain your sense of control, choose how you respond to the things that happen to you.
Right.
The second thing would be follow the thread. When opportunities come to you, sometimes unexpectedly, or when somebody says, "Oh, you really should talk to this person," follow that. It might not lead where they think it was going to lead when they made the introduction. It might not lead anywhere, but you might learn something. And 10 years down the road, they might remember you, and an opportunity comes up. And that's exactly how I ended up working in the Obama administration. Is that someone that I had met 10 years ago that was following a program that I was on. That I had, she was following my career when the Secretary of Commerce called her and said, we need somebody to lead this office, the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. She said, I know the perfect person. I didn't keep regular contact with her. I didn't, she wasn't in my quote unquote, we were friends on LinkedIn probably, but it wasn't like I had a system, customer relationship manager, or where I followed up with her on a periodic. But It was just, it was just following the thread, being kind. Not burning bridges, I think, would probably be the third one, is that you just never know where someone else is going to come back into your life or be in a position of power in something, in your world. And so just always being mindful of that, and always choosing the high road and not burning bridges.
Got a client, there's 330,000 recruiters in the country. He's number 48. A lot of his business comes from this VP used to work at Adobe, now they work at GM, and his contacts just keep on extending.
Yep.
How do you think the mindset of new entrepreneurs has changed over the last decade or two? Because governments are supporting more, but how's the mindset of the people actually coming in?
I think the mindset, we see a lot, especially in the students, the need or the desire to change the world. I think they have a very strong idea that they want to be connected to something that has meaning, and that they're passionate about. And I say that because that was the part of the conversation I had with my daughter, is that, how do you find meaning in what you do, or do things with meaning? And there's 2 sides to that, right? You can find the meaning in what you're doing, or you can really find something that aligns with your passion. And I encourage both, to do both and. So I think that they are not afraid to fail. Failure is like, okay, we'll try this again, and just stepping out there. That's definitely. And I think that social media has helped this, because people put themselves out there on social media, and so in a way, it's an extension of that. That they're kind of putting themselves out there and trying things.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Sure, it's fun.
It was fun. If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.